What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 191 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. My name's Dave McCrae, coming to you live from the Voice Man Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia, and tonight we are discussing the Exorcist Believer trailer that dropped yesterday. What do we think about it? Do we like it? Do we not like it? What are our concerns? It's going to be a great show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We are live, ladies and gentlemen. The Exorcist Believer. Coming out this October in time for the 50th year anniversary of the original Exorcist, which of course came out way back in 1973.
50 years, damn.
50 years
That's
ago.
nuts. I mean, we were talking about that before we went live. Just think about that.
Yeah.
We're getting into some of our favorite horror movies.
Yeah.
Exorcist, Black Christmas, Chainsaw Massacre. We're getting into some serious numbers with these birthdays.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, we're getting old. That's the problem.
That is the problem. That's the problem. That is the problem, ladies and gentlemen.
They gotta stop aging, man. Shit. 50 years. It's weird to say that that's where The Exorcist is at now. It's at 50.
50 years. When you and I were born, The Exorcist was 6 years old.
Yeah. Right?
Because you and I are 6 years away from 50.
Right.
That's insane. That's insane. Jesus Christ. Welcome to the show, everybody. Episode 191. We are 9 shows away from the big 200. The big 200. Tony.
And I apologize for the blackout tonight. I'm trying to keep it cool in the office. If anyone's in the South, you already know it's like fucking Satan's breathing on us down here.
It's a perfect time. I mean, Satan, the Exorcist, this is a perfect time.
Exactly.
Also, for those of you that may not know, Tony and I, before the Indiegogo campaign for It's Me Billy Chapter 2, which, by the way, is in demand, so you can still pick up stuff, just saying, link in description, our shows were every Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. Obviously, that has changed a little bit. We're a little all over the schedule for the foreseeable future. Not forever, but for a little bit. So we're going to try and do our shows Sunday nights at 6. But don't be surprised if you see like a pop-up show from time to time like this. We're just sort of there's kind of things are happening in lives and all that kind of stuff, and we need to kind of bounce around a little bit. So hopefully in the near future we'll get back to sort of a consistent schedule that you guys know, hey, it's Monday night. Hey, that means 2 dudes. At the moment, it doesn't mean that. It did, but not at the moment.
At least we're making an effort and we're trying and we're showing
That's exactly
up, right?
it. We are going to be very consistent on being inconsistent, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Chaotic scheduling. Bring it on.
That's it. But here we are. The Exorcist Believer trailer dropped yesterday. I don't know if it's highly anticipated, but certainly highly curious, we'll say that. Directed by David Gordon Green, DGG himself, the man who helmed the previous Blumhouse Halloween trilogy. Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends. I believe
the greatest trilogy of all time.
Of all time. Absolutely incredible.
Of all time.
It's incredible. This new Exorcist movie, of course, was also written by Danny McBride and David Gordon Green.
I didn't know that.
Yes,
now I'm scared.
And Scott Teems, and I don't know Scott Teems, obviously, and I don't know Danny McBride, obviously, but I believe Scott Teems, who had a hand in Halloween Kills, also had a hand in The Exorcist Believer.
I fully expect a Dick peanut butter joke.
That or The Exorcism Dies Tonight. I don't know. But nonetheless, a couple of years ago, Universal, I believe it was Universal, spent about $400 million on the rights to 3 Exorcist movies. So that's not the budget. It's not like each movie is like, 100 and what it would be, 130,
That's just to make the damn thing.
Well, no, that's not production budget. That's just to be able to have the rights and the permission to be able to make 3 Exorcist films, $400 million. Now, Jason Blum knows that, you know what, I could probably bang out 3 of these things for like maybe $20 million each. If we release them at Halloween time and the marketing is really solid, maybe we'll have a repeat thing of what happened with our Halloween trilogy. Now, say what you want about Halloween Kills and Ends, they did make money. Not as much as the first one, obviously, which is usually the case. It's not, I mean, obviously there are examples of sequels that have made more than their predecessors, but generally speaking, especially in the horror slasher subgenre, generally speaking, the first movie is usually the one that makes the most, and then the subsequent sequels get less and less. It doesn't mean you don't have successes, but they're not as good as the first. And that was, of course, the case with the Halloween trilogy. However, Halloween Kills still made over 100 million domestic, and I believe, did Halloween Ends make over 100 million domestic? Let me just see here. Halloween Ends box office mojo. If it did, here we are. Halloween Ends. No, it did not. It made 100, but still 104 worldwide. I might have said. And I stand corrected on that. For whatever reason, I was like having a major brain fart. And on the stream the other day on my channel, I think I did say it made over 100 million domestic, which is ridiculous now that I think about it. But it did make over 100 million worldwide. So Halloween Ends still made $104 million. Halloween Kills, that movie worldwide made 133 million worldwide, 92 domestic, so knocking on 100 million domestic. And of course, we know not the original, but Halloween 18 made about 253 million worldwide. So between them all, I mean, you're knocking on like $500 million between.
You're close to making a profit
movies
back for what you spent on getting the rights.
For The Exorcist, it would have been. Yeah. I don't know how much they spent on the rights to Halloween, but nonetheless. So Jason Blum is probably thinking, the same kind of thing, right? He's there and he's thinking to himself, you know what, we could probably do something with this, because Blumhouse specializes in low budgets, high returns. And that doesn't mean everyone they do does that, but that's sort of his specialty. And so, I obviously, okay, so that's where we were a couple years ago. David Gordon Green, I really think he got excited when he knew that he was going to be helming at least the first in this new Exorcist trilogy. That news came out even before Halloween Ends might have even been shot, I think. And so right. Yeah. I think it was in between Kills and Ends, and I can't help but feel that maybe his heart really wasn't in Ends, and that he was really, but nonetheless, I mean, obviously I have no evidence of that, but
look, he threw a Hail Mary with Ends and it just didn't, it is what it
didn't jive for some people.
Exactly. But I've defended him and I've said it here many times. I think this is different. I think this is more his wheelhouse. I think things that I saw in Halloween 18 and Kills and Ends, I think The Exorcist will be different, because I think that fits to his storytelling, the way he directs. Clearly with Ends, the concept is really good, but it, like you've even said it before, the only thing that ruins Halloween Ends is Michael Myers, which is like
yes
fucked up to say, but if you take Michael out of it, it's actually a pretty fucking good Halloween movie. Michael ruins his own movie.
The movie was pretty good until Michael showed up. Yeah,
exactly. So I've championed him, and I said, look, I understand, and I get everyone's being apprehensive. They're not sure, because of what he did with the trilogy for Halloween. But I think with The Exorcist, it's a different beast. The thing with The Exorcist is like, too, it's not like Halloween. When I say that, is like Halloween is basically Star Wars.
It's a different subgenre altogether.
What I was going to say with regards to the fan base, Halloween has a massive established fan base like Star Wars, diehard fans. Unfortunately, a lot of that Star Wars toxicity has gone into the Halloween franchise now as well, too. And I think that's just fandom in general these days. But the point is, that IP, the Halloween IP, it's huge. If it's not the biggest, I mean, it's got to be, I mean, I know Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, they're up there, but Halloween, I mean, Michael has pretty much owned it for the last 2 decades, right? I mean, you know, The Exorcist isn't like that. You know what I mean? It's the original one. I know there's a fan base out there for the third one. We always just forget the second. Try to forget the second
Heretic
one anyway. Yeah, the Heretic. You know, it's the one we don't talk about. But for the most part, it really is just that one movie. Then there's nothing else. You know, there's no alternate timelines. I mean, yes, they're doing one now with this one, but I'm saying up until this movie, there was none of the stuff that Halloween has done. There was no like, well, we got to, you know, like they were bringing Jamie Lee Curtis back, you know, like you said in the last stream we're on, like people were talking like, didn't she die? You know what I mean? Like, so there's no confusion here because they're basically altering the timeline from this starting point. So really, people only just need to watch that first film, and you're good. You're caught up.
Yeah,
you don't need to go through the whole. There isn't this whole franchise. So I think with that gives me hope that this might actually be pretty good. Maybe.
It might look. It might be. I mean, obviously, it very well could. You know, and to piggyback off of what you said, you know, it's. The thing with The Exorcist is that, you know, it is one of the most, you know, I would say even more than Halloween, it is one of the most revered horror films in the history of cinema. Because of, well, for a variety of reasons that we've talked about on this channel. Now, obviously, it's 1973. Obviously, it's a little dated now, you know, in terms of effects and things. Of course, yes, it's not like watching a modern movie with modern effects and modern polish and modern filmmaking and all, of course. But you could say that about any film, you know, Psycho, Rear Window, you know, all that kind of stuff. But its cultural impact at a time when, you know, America and the world was more naive, more ignorant, more religious. People are less religious today, more skeptical today, less trusting today. You know, and so, you know, I mean, there are, look, I remember when, and we will talk about the trailer here in a second, folks. We're just setting it all up here. You know, I remember when the Blair Witch Project came out, and I was working at a movie theater then. And, you know, part of the thing was, you know, it's so scary, you know, people are throwing up and things. That's not why. That's not why. People are not throwing up because it's scary. People were throwing up because of the motion sickness, because it was shot on 16 millimeter, I believe, or whatever it was. And it was this, it was the motion sickness. It was the up and down of, you know, the camera. That's why people were throwing up, not because it was so scary. Had nothing to do with that. With The Exorcist, it's different. With The Exorcist it genuinely frightened a lot of people. People were passing out. People were fainting. People were coming out of the theater saying, I can't go back in. I can't go back in. There's a whole news thing about it. You can look it up on YouTube. And so nobody had seen anything like it before. And it's hard for us today, even for myself and Tony, because obviously we're 44, so we were born 6 years after The Exorcist came out. But it's hard to imagine, you know, what that. I mean, we've had similar experiences with other movies, but to have a film like that comes out and people are fainting and crying and throwing up, and you know, you might laugh at it now when you watch the movie, but it really was incredibly effective. It was more of the psychological, especially for very religious people that were going to see it. They needed to check it out, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And so The Exorcist is often considered one of not just the granddaddy of you know, possession, of the subgenre of possession horror, but one of the granddaddies of horror. You know, a certain era of horror. I mean, obviously there was a lot of great horror movies before The Exorcist.
And there's B-horror films that were out.
Sure, but it was a different era. But it's considered one of them. It's one of the greats. You know, when you look at a list of best horror movies, it's on there. There's no doubt about it. And so, to Tony's point, there was the Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which was a disaster. There was The Exorcist 3, which really should have just been marketed as Legion. I don't even think that was a box office success, although it's a fantastic film.
And people don't even connect it to the original one, even though, what's his name? Demi is in the film, right?
It's in the same universe. Yeah, it's in the same universe, but it's a separate story.
Right.
And so and then you have in 2004 or 5, you have those two films. One was directed by Rennie Harlan.
God, yeah.
The Exorcist, the beginning, and then the same movie, but from a different perspective with a different director called The Exorcist Dominion. And
which
so,
is like,
yeah. So, but to Tony's
and it really
point,
focuses on the priest.
yes,
you know?
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So there was no, franchise and series that really got off the ground, embedded itself into the pop culture zeitgeist like Halloween, Elm Street, Friday. Because remember, as much as we always hope that these movies are good, really at the end of the day, it doesn't, in terms of pop culture, maybe not so much now because it's a very, very different world. But certainly back in the 80s, it didn't really fucking matter if they were good or not. It was the volume of how many were being made. And
we were having fun with it too.
Right, exactly. And studios were just turning them out because they made their money back. Didn't matter if they were good. And so, series like Friday and Elm Street especially were pop culture. I mean, they were part of culture. They're just part of culture. And that was, the 80s. And that's something that The Exorcist or Black Christmas or, never had an opportunity to do. So to Tony's point, there is an opportunity here with The Exorcist that is not with Halloween. However, the flip side of that is that first Exorcist is really revered. You're making a direct sequel to one of the greatest, most revered horror films in the history of motion pictures. It's not an easy task. You're behind the 8 ball. And there's as I've often said on this channel, The Exorcist, the original from 1973, the way it's shot, the pacing, the feeling of the film, it almost feels like you're watching some sort of docudrama or documentary or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it almost doesn't feel like it is it's not a documentary, obviously, but it's kind of got that vibe to it sometimes. Like it's got that realism sort of, like there's a realism to it. And that's because of the atmosphere, the pacing, how they draw it out, the scenes and the discussion between what's going on and what's happening with this little girl and, visiting the priest and, all this stuff. They linger with it. And it's got that old kind of, the film stock, the 70s film stock and the grain. And it's just, there's a groundedness to that original Exorcist. And what, in my opinion, why I love the movie so much is not because of the 360-degree head turn or, the green slime or, your mother sucks cocks in hell and all that. I mean, yeah, sure, that stuff's all great. But without the grounded, mature, eerie feeling to the picture right from the beginning, right, when you're in, Iraq and you're with Father Marin. And all that, there's just this eeriness all the way up to all that shit. There's great shots where, freaking just like, he slowly pushes in on the door, and if you look closely, the design of the door looks like, a cross, right? And you're just pushing in on the door, the bedroom door, obviously, that, Reagan's in. It's just this slow kind of push on the door. There's just an eeriness, the whole fucking movie, and I know you're thinking, well, we've had slow push-ins on doors before. I know, I get that, but it's within the confines of the whole picture. That's just, he takes his time. He's not rushing to get to he's not rushing to get to it, and so now you fast forward to 2023. And we don't make movies like that anymore, generally speaking. We've had millions of possession films now, and we're desensitized to it. We're desensitized to this kind of stuff. And there's a possession and a demon movie for like, I don't know, there's 5 a year. You know what I mean? They're all over the place now. And my concern is, the desire to lean more into that too soon. And you could say, listen, Dave, you got to get off. You're just an old man. Get off my lawn. They don't make movies like that anymore. So tough noogies. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I get it. I get it. I appreciate more of that other kind of stuff. But with The Exorcist is a character-driven film. It's not a plot-driven film. It's a character-driven film. It's a drama. It's a horror drama like Jaws. You know what I mean? And so it's so important that you have those character-driven moments. It's that we take our time with these characters. I want to feel like this lives and breathes in the same universe. You know, when people watched It's Me, Billy Chapter 1, one of the compliments we'd get on it is that this really feels like a sequel to Black Christmas. It feels like it lives and breathes in the same universe. When you watch Black Christmas, you watch It's Me, Billy, you can see the similarities and the parallels with the pacing and the timing and the, you know, how we set things up and how, you know what I mean? It's important that it feels like it lives. It would be strange to do a sequel to The Exorcist that felt like The Conjuring or Insidious. Although those are great movies, there's a different execution to those, a different pacing to those than The Exorcist, although they are slow burn films. So that has always been one of my major concerns is, you know, I understand the time we live in now. I know I might be just, you know, preaching to the choir and you know, Tony's probably like, yeah, I get you, man. I get you. But that I think is important. And I know I mean, The Exorcist is your favorite horror movie, period. And I think you agree with me on that that's one of its strengths is that it's a character-driven piece. It's not really just, you know, Reagan turning her head. I mean, you really, you know, you get to know these priests and Damien and the guilt that he feels and the struggle between, you know, because he's a psychiatrist now too, and how he doesn't feel he can help people and that he's losing his faith. And like, that's what The Exorcist is about. The Exorcist is about a priest that loses his fucking faith, right? And he doesn't know how to help people. He feels guilty about the death of his mother because he wasn't there for her. And that's a whole thing there with, you know, the symbolism, you know, and the dream that he has and all that kind of stuff. And then he sacrifices himself to save a girl he's never met at all so she can have a life. I mean, it's about losing his faith, redeeming faith. Like it's a powerful sort of, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, and so it's really character driven. Anyway, Tony, your thoughts on that?
On what?
On
everything you just said, or
yeah, like trailer? on The Exorcist, in terms of like, do you agree with what I'm saying in terms of the vibe of that movie and what makes your favorite horror movie so successful?
Yes and no. I think I look at it from just more of it's a movie that impacted me when I was a kid and scared the fucking piss out of me.
Yeah.
And I like that. You know what I mean? It was just one of those that like I don't know, I gravitated to right from the get-go. I didn't think about it in like all that, like the layers of it and the symbolisms. I mean, yes, I
not back then. Yeah.
Or even now, I still try. I don't really try to approach movies like that.
Right.
I try to keep it simple for myself, just so that. I mean, I know that like what you like. I know you like, you know, banana peels and or orange, however you want to reference it. You just like to peel it back. You like, and I know that. I know that. I know you like the layers and stuff like that. For me, that's never been my approach to watching a movie. I've always just taken it as like casual fan, gonna enjoy it, keep it simple. I'm not hard to entertain. Really, I'm not. Yeah. You know, just so I mean, for the things that why I like The Exorcist and why it's my favorite horror movies, no, it's different than how, like, for your reasonings,
right?
It's
right.
just, I mean, yes, I love the certain elements of the cinematic and the filmmaking that they did, you know, where it makes you like, you can feel it. You know, we often talked about the scene where Deemy's running around the track and, you know, you can feel the cold. Yes. You know what I mean? Because it's that there's that atmosphere. It feels cold. It feels like fall when they go into Reagan's room at times and you can see the breath coming out of their mouth. Like you feel it, even though it's not tangible and you can't touch it, but it almost feels like you can touch it.
Right.
So that element from a cinematic, you know, perspective of how they shot the film, you know, and everything being practical.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, especially for 1973. That's what I love about it. And yeah, for me, it's the scares, it's the buildup, it's you know, and to this, even to this day, I still am like, you know, for 1973, I can't believe they pulled that shit off. You know what I mean? Like that's just some creative filmmaking, you know. And I've watched a lot of the behind the scenes, and making that movie was not easy. It was no fucking picnic. You know what Linda Blair went through. You know, it was a lot. It's a very demanding project on everybody. You know, the actresses, the director, to even the props department, and how they had to come up with these ideas to create all this stuff. You know, and you know, but you know, the iconic shot of the priest showing up at the house. I mean, arguably one of the most cinematic shots in all of cinema. I mean, you
100%.
show that photograph to anyone, 9 out of 10 people are going to know The Exorcist.
100%.
They know the shot. They know that picture. You know, if anything, they know that shot because it's everywhere. They've seen it everywhere.
Yes.
It's in the zeitgeist of pop culture.
Correct.
But yeah, no, I tend to just, you know, I don't want to say like from a simpleton point of view, but I do try to keep my viewpoints
I get what you're saying.
Movies very simple, without it being, you know, so overthinking on it, which is why I think I probably enjoyed the trailer a bit more than most people, because I do take that simplicity of looking at a movie that I'm excited to see, like, that looks good.
Well, that's a great segue. So let's jump into the trailer now. So now that we've sort of given our thoughts on The Exorcist and you know how we feel about it, take it away, man. What were your thoughts? The Exorcist Believer. This is the trailer to the sequel to your favorite horror movie.
I dug it. I you know, and even in our voice messages sending back and forth preparing for this, I really liked everything they did. I loved how they used tubular bells. That was really slick until they finally dropped it when you see Reagan's picture and, you know, Chris McNeil's book and whatnot. I thought that was very, very well done. I'm anxious to see the two girls. What's it? Catherine and Angela. Is that right? Is that the two leads here? The two girls?
Catherine might have been. Yeah, I think it's Catherine.
It might be Catherine and Angela, right? I'm excited to see how, you know, what is this tied to Beelzebub? You know, or like what you had mentioned to me, is this, you know, with part 2 being called Deceived, is she going to be deceived and thinking it's Beelzebub, but it's actually entirely something different? Which is, I'm hoping that I have two sides to that. There's part of me is like, you know, do we want the Beelzebub or not Beelzebub?
You mean Pazuzu?
Pazuzu. I'm saying Beelzebub. Jesus Christ. You kept me going there saying Beelzebub.
Sorry, I didn't. I thought you were talking about something else. What's that from?
No, fucking A. I meant to say Pazuzu.
Pazuzu, right.
I meant to say Pazuzu. So take everything I just said a moment ago and just throw the word Pazuzu in there.
Right.
And now the context of what I'm saying makes sense.
We'll dub it in afterwards. It'll be like,
don't drink and do a podcast.
We'll dub it in afterwards. So it'll be like, well, I think that Pazuzu was the one that... I think Pazuzu.
10 o'clock at night.
That's all right. Continue.
All right. So what I was trying to say regarding to Pazuzu, all right, for, you know, which is why I'm hoping that's why the Exorcist, the second one, is called Deceiver, that they think it's Pazuzu, but it's actually entirely something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the same entity. But then there's the side of me of like, okay, well, maybe it is the same entity, and, you know, O'Neill is going to have a showdown, whether it's Reagan or her mom. You know what I mean? Like, there's that side of it, but that just seems too, I don't know, just too on the nose, you know? So if it's something else entirely, I would be on board with it. Because, you know, a lot of people keep saying, like, you know, the scene there when she's in the bedroom and the little girl is like, I remember you. And she's like, mother, and slamming back, you know, call back to the original Exorcist. I'm hoping that that's a fake out. You know what I mean? Like, I hope it's not that it's Pazuzu and it's, you know, we're down the same road again, that she realizes that this is totally something different, because she says the line in the trailer that it's going to take all religions this time. It's not just the one, you know what I mean? So that's where I'm kind of hoping that Chris's line of saying that in the trailer, that it's, you know, we're not going back down to the well and it's Pazuzu all over again, you know, like we've been there, we've seen it. So I am hoping that it is entirely something different. more powerful. I don't fucking know. But aside from that, I liked the simplicity of the possessions that I'm seeing so far. They didn't go over the top. We weren't seeing any contorting yet. I'm not a big fan of that. I really, really am not. Like, I'm so over that when it comes to.
I actually like it. I just think it's overused.
It's like the Conjuring's go-to move.
Yeah,
you know, like you know, like it's like, all right, you know, I get it. You know, like we talked before the stream, the one movie that nailed it right when it came to the contorting of the body, because it was so very subtle, was Emily Rose, The Possession of Exorcist of Emily Rose.
Movie.
When she's there looking at him, right, and he wakes up. It's a subtle. It's not like a crazy contort. You know what I mean? Where her bones are snapping and shit, and you're like, all right, no fucking human being can survive that shit. You know, it's very, very, very subtle, but fucking creepy.
Yeah.
From what I see in this trailer so far, it seems like they're keeping the possession very grounded. But obviously they can't, you know, like you started to say, you know, there's 50 years in between The Exorcist and now, and there's been so much stuff. We are so desensitized. What my ultimate takeaway from this movie that I want is, it's not going to be Jaws, but if it's Jaws 2, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't need to be The Exorcist. You don't aim for that. You aim for that, you're going to fuck yourself. But if you aim for like a Jaws 2 where people walk out like, you know, this wasn't bad. It's, you know, it's not The Exorcist. Nothing's going to be The Exorcist. But if it's entertaining, if the possession is good and they're not, you know, going so far off the chain with it, and so far from what I see, that's what it looks like, and we don't go down the same road of Pazuzu again, and we do something entirely different, you got something here.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You got something here.
I'm trying to reel it back in too, because I've been let down so much in my life.
No, I get you. I get you.
Like, I'm excited, but I'm like, I gotta reel it back.
No, I understand. I get you. Yeah. So, okay. So the trailer was, fine. It was fine. It wasn't a bad trailer, you know, like as far as trailers go, it wasn't a bad trailer or anything. I wasn't blown away by it. Now, again, it's important that people understand that, you know, I am that guy that's you know, like, oh no, why don't we, you know, maybe I'm that guy for, you know, this kind of stuff. Get out my cheesies. But to your point, and two things we've said here, or the same thing we've said, or one thing we've said, but we've both said it, which is there's 50 years. There's 50 years in between this. And it's a different world. They don't make movies like this anymore, you know, or like, you know, the original, the filmmaking process, and, you know, in terms of the logistics of how movies are made, are not the same anymore. And so, you know, I do understand it. I mean, it's, you know, it's not lost on me that it's 2023. I do understand that we need to entertain, we need to get butts in the seats, we need to show a little more than maybe we did years and years ago. Although I don't think you have to do that, and certainly there are examples of movies that don't do that. But in terms of, you know, needing to recoup the costs of $400 million over 3 horror movies, yeah, I understand that maybe you can't make 3 psychological, nuanced Hereditaries. I get it. You know, especially in today's climate, in today's day and age, with all the distractions and where we are, and people just not going to the movies, you know, period. And I understand. I do understand why, you know, certain things are the way they are. But I have to be honest and true to myself and speak to what I liked and what I didn't. And, you know, I feel the same way about The Exorcist that I do some other films. And that is, to me, there's a very specific identity and feeling to that first movie that I wanted to feel with watching this trailer. Now, it's a 3-minute trailer, and I never really feel like it takes its time. It feels like it could be a 90-second trailer. And it's a 3-minute trailer. And, you know, maybe they don't do this in the film. And maybe it isn't a story that, you know, maybe it's kind of character driven, but it's also kind of plot driven. I don't know. I just feel that, you know, the trailer was fine. But I just wish I didn't see a lot of the effects in that. When you watch the original Exorcist trailer, and I know I'm getting on my soapbox and people are just rolling their eyes saying, Dave, you're an old man, you should be shot and killed and put to bed. When you watch the first Exorcist trailer, they don't even show anything. You know, they show the bedroom, they show the door, and the mother runs towards the door and she opens the door and you see her face, and it's almost like a freeze frame on her face, and then she's talking to the doctor. Like they really keep it at bay. And I know that now it's 2023, we've seen all this before, and maybe like, you know, what are we hiding today in 2023? But I guess I just look for those things. You know, I guess I just feel that David Gordon Green, there was a quote that Blumhouse released on their Facebook page. And I'm paraphrasing, but David Gordon Green said that The Exorcist Believer is a throwback to the old psychological horror movies that I grew up with. I hope you enjoy it.
Which gives me hope.
And well, yes, but is it? You know, I mean, okay, but I can tell you watching that trailer, it does not look like a psychological horror film to me at all. Not even close. Like it just looks like if there was no Tubular Bells or Chris McNeil, I would think this could be a sequel to The Pope's Exorcist. I mean, I don't know. So it's and that's not a bad thing. Like I do understand the era we're in, and I agree with a lot of the stuff that you've said. There wasn't anything too fantastical. Absolutely. There was no contortion stuff, and there wasn't any wild explosions or, people being thrown through glass. And, I mean, the Pope's Exorcist trailer is like a fucking Indiana Jones movie. And there wasn't any of that. But when I hear him say that, I think, okay, well, when you say that, when a director says the psychological horror films of the old, well, that to me, maybe I'm taking it too literally, but that to me is, David Gordon Green's like a 50-year-old man. So you're telling me this is a psychological horror movie in the vein of the 70s and 80s films. Well, that's a very different kind of movie than the trailer I saw. That doesn't mean the movie's not going to be like that. And maybe they just packed in all that stuff into the trailer. It's like making an Exorcist trailer with, the 360-degree head turn, the fuck me, the green slime, it's showing
it's like
some
putting
of its
all
cards.
the goods in the trailer.
Exactly. And maybe, or maybe 70% of them, because we need to sell it. We got to get butts in the seats. We got to get those kids in the seats for Halloween time and all that. And I totally understand that. But when I hear that, I go, okay, but that's not really the vibe. Did anybody get the vibe that this is a psychological horror film of the old? I mean, I don't think the trailer has that vibe, but it's not a bad trailer. I agree with Tony. It's not a bad trailer. It's not a bad trailer at all. I think that there could be potential here for sure. And because then there's the other side of the coin. I just have to say that. And then there's the other side of the coin where I have to acknowledge and concede that, like Tony said, it's not going to be The Exorcist, because I don't think it can be. And because of the era we're in right now, with a $400 million price tag, they need to get asses in those seats, and they need to entertain. That was my gremlin. They need to entertain, and they need to have it not like The Conjuring, but it's got to be more Conjuring than original Exorcist. Not The Conjuring, but it's got to have more. People need to be entertained. They want to see creepy girls crawling and all that kind of stuff.
I think they probably need to tap in a bit more into the paranormal, which the original Exorcist did a little bit. Mm-hmm. Not heavily, but there definitely was some paranormal stuff that, happened. So I think that certainly needs to, be ramped up a little bit here in this one. Yeah. And like I said, in my comparison, don't aim for The Exorcist. Be a Jaws 2. Jaws 2 is a great sequel to an original film that really didn't need a sequel. It's Jaws. It's one of the most iconic movies of all time. But
it's a good point.
Having said that, it is a solid sequel. It does, Friday the 13th
on
part
its own
2.
merits. Yeah.
Yeah. Friday the 13th part 2. Some even, like myself, think it's better than the original.
Oh, lots of people do. Yeah.
Exactly. So, don't try, as long as you don't try to outdo the original, because you're never going to do it. And you just entertain us, man. That's really it. I like I said, I approach at it from more of a simpleton mindset, just I'm there, I'll be there with my girl eating popcorn and watching a good, horror film for 2 hours. And that's all I need, like that, just be entertained. It's been I will say no, Mission Impossible was really entertaining. That was really good. Oppenheimer is fucking phenomenal. I know it's 3 hours, but god damn, that's a fucking movie. Like, whoo. But the point is, it's been a while since I watched out of a horror film feeling really good. The Conjuring was probably the last time where I walked out of like, oh, damn, that was good. I went back and saw it again, immediately. Yeah. Like I made a beeline to watch it again because I was like, holy shit, this is really good. I want that same feeling. Conjuring came out when? 2012, right?
2013.
2013. So 10 years ago. God damn, that movie's already 10 years old.
I know, it's crazy.
So it's been a decade since I've walked out. I didn't walk out of the Halloween movies. Well, first of all, I only saw one of them in theater. The other two I saw on Peacock.
Yeah.
So it's been a while since I've walked out of the theater with it from a good horror movie going, that was pretty solid. I don't need it to be great. I just want it to be solid.
Yeah, and I think I think that's great expectations to have. I think that's where the expectations should be. Like again, I didn't hate the trailer. I didn't love it because obviously as somebody who is looking for those things, I'm always going to be looking for those things. I wanted to see something for me in the trailer. I wanted to see something that gave me that more of that. And again, it's a sequel. I get it, Dave. You can't just do and me saying this is not, I get criticized for this, but it's not true. I'm not wanting the same thing over again. I'm talking about a directorial like a what's the word I'm looking for? Not a feeling, but there's a like a style, but I don't want to say style because every director should bring their own, but it's like, what I say? I said the same thing about Halloween 18 and Halloween. There's a continuity, and and I feel like when you're doing a direct sequel to one of the greatest horror movies of all time, some consider it the greatest of all time, what made that movie so great, what made that movie so scary, I wanted to see. Now, maybe we watch the movie and it's all over the place in spades. It's there. It's nuanced. It's paced really well and eerie. It's a character-driven piece. There's lots of moments of character drama and characters talking to each other about, faith and or what this could mean and what's going on and, that dichotomy between, what's real, what isn't, all that kind of stuff. Maybe that stuff is going to be there, and referring to the past and there's this little girl named Reagan and what's all that, maybe all that's going to be there, but I didn't feel it really in the trailer, although there were certain moments that I liked. So like you said, I think we're kind of I think you like the trailer more than me, but I think we're sort of on the same page in the sense of that, well, it could go either way at this point, because we've both seen trailers to movies that, we've seen bad trailers to good movies, good trailers to bad movies. It's really hard to get a sense, but, let's just put it this way. If The Exorcist believer, you said Jaws too. If The Exorcist believer can be even a Halloween 2018, if The Exorcist believer can be a Halloween 18 at the very least, I think that's a win. That's a win. And in the sense that it doesn't embarrass itself. It's competently made. It's got some great moments, some, well, I don't want to say great moments in 18, but certainly some good moments, some solid moments. And you're at the end and you're like, that was all right. That was fine. It didn't blow my socks off, but it was maybe as good as it could ever be. It's The Deceiver and the third one that, The Exorcist kills and The Exorcist ends.
Where are we going with this, right?
Yeah, where are we going with it? That what are we going to do? Are we dragging this out over 3 films? So, and I agree with you on Tubular Bells. I agree with you on Tubular Bells. I really like the way they placed it in there. You know, do 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 do.
Right. Until they dropped
yeah, 100%. It was really great. I would have, as somebody who has cut trailers, obviously to my own films, I cut all, the Billy trailers, I cut all and create all the promotional material for it. I probably would have done the same thing. If I was asked to cut an Exorcist Believer trailer, I would have been like, well, we've got to have Tubular Bells in there. And I would have done the same thing. Because you don't immediately, I mean, you and I know, and a lot of Exorcist fans know, but if you're an average moviegoer who knows the song and knows the relation to the original film, you wouldn't necessarily pick up on it from just those two notes. And you hear that a couple of times, and then all of a sudden it kicks in. You're like, oh, this is the Exorcist trailer. You know what I mean? And that's cool. So that I absolutely liked. It was great to see Ellen Burstyn, I think her name is, who plays Chris McNeil. Great to see her back.
Really great to see. She looks great.
She looks fantastic. She's like 85 or whatever. She looks fantastic.
And good for her, man.
Yeah, she's aged gracefully. She's beautiful. And I love the transition. Obviously, seeing her on a book cover, and then all of a sudden, we crossfade into her coming to the window, like 50 years later. Really liked that. I thought that was really good. Some people have said this, and I want to tackle this. Some people have said that because I've seen this online, and I think you'll agree with me on this, is that people are saying, because I've seen this in the comments and people sort of messaging me, Ellen, well, to have Chris McNeil come back, okay, fine, but it makes absolutely no sense that she would come back in the ways that she is as some sort of expert, because she didn't really do anything. She didn't save Reagan. It was the priests that were. She was kind of, baffled and, befuddled and didn't know what to do and blah, blah, blah. And my response to that is this. My response to that is this, and then you tell me if you agree with me, is... First of all, it's clear in the trailer that they communicate to the audience that she became obsessed, obviously, because her daughter was possessed by a demon. So she herself became obsessed, maybe even possessed, on learning as much as she can about religions and possessions and demons and exorcisms and all that kind of stuff, to the point where she is a pretty much an expert on the subject. And so I understand what people are saying, but she's not being seeked out because she's the one that defeated the demon. She's being seeked out because she's the only person alive that knows anything about what the fuck we're dealing with here.
Right.
And that's why she's being seeked out. And on top of that, she spent a lot of her life learning so much more about this kind of stuff. Right. She's written books on it. She knows a lot about this stuff. She's not a priest herself. She's not, but so that didn't bother me. I think people are equating this, we need to seek out the expert, the one who defeated Pazuzu. No, she's not. No, you're right. She's not. It was Damien that did it. Marin died. Damien did it. She was downstairs probably, thinking, oh my God. But she was there. She was there. She experienced it. She saw it. She witnessed it. She saw her daughter transition. Boom, 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 boom.
And by the way, that's
huge
for her character. That would probably be a natural thing to do once it happens to your kid, that you learn something, you study it. Like she talks about, like, all the religions in the trailer, that it's not going to be just the one religion this time, that it's, that she knows this stuff because she's embedded herself into this for 50 years.
Right.
Okay. It only takes you 9 years to get your doctorate. Right.
Yeah.
So, she spent, 50 years of her life invested in this stuff. That, yes, I agree with you. The trailer did not tell me that Chris I almost said McNeil. Yeah. McNeil.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yep.
McNeil.
Yep.
I'm whatever. I'm on a roll tonight with names.
That's all right, dude. Just keep drinking.
Just keep drinking. That's just working wonders.
There you go.
Make names up as I go. I didn't take anything from the trailer that she defeated Pazuzu the first time. No, they just know each other, but I still don't know if it's Pazuzu. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? Like,
right.
I still feel that we're being held out, which is fine by me. And
Yeah.
I'll be happy if it's not. But that that the demon that is possessing these two kids knows about what happened to her daughter. You know, some shit like that. If I know. I don't know.
No.
But you are right on one thing, because in the real world, exorcisms, it's not like, you know, I mean, they're not, it's a small group of people.
Yeah.
You know? And anyone who's been legitimately possessed, it's even smaller. So there's not like a whole, a lot of people with experience and background and knowledge in the real world. So he is keeping it real when it comes to that. And obviously you're not going to have Damien back or Father Marin. They're dead, right? Yeah. Even in the, in real life, they're dead. Max, he's dead. And I think the guy who played Damien's dead too, right?
He might be. I'm not sure.
I think he is in real life.
Might be. He could be.
But the point is the characters are dead. So yeah, and with everything at our disposal, okay, and remember, it's 50 years set in today, so they're going to have the technology of today and whatnot, and we all have a library basically at the palm of our hand, so you can research just about anything and become an expert on anything if you research and educate yourself enough. It doesn't take, I mean, how many how many documentary YouTube channels are out there that these are not licensed documentary, you know what I mean? These are people who I know are just YouTubers who are putting together these videos and doing voiceovers and clips and stuff like that because they have a passion for something. Her, doing that when coming to possessions and stuff like that's no different. No,
you're right. It's not. And she's like, I agree with everything you've said. She's become an expert in the field. And, look, would you love to talk to the guy who actually shot Osama bin Laden? Sure, yeah, that would be great. But if he's not around and the guy that was, sitting in the office, who was maybe waiting outside, for it to happen, or maybe he was second in command and he was, I don't know, these military terms, but, he was there. So maybe the guy that you get to talk to is not the guy that shot bin Laden, but he's the guy that's outside down the hall in the waiting room. But he's still there. And he's the only one left that you can talk to. Well, you're going to fucking talk to him because he was there and he's got insight and details that could help the situation, and it's the same thing here. I mean, it's probably not the greatest analogy, but I
get what you're saying.
But you get what I'm saying. She was there. It was her daughter. It's not like she was like and even that would be great too. It's not like she's directly connected. It was her own daughter. So there's nuances. I know there's that word. There's nuances and details that this character could provide both these families of insight into what to expect, what to look for, what's going on. She's going to come in and assess the situation. Maybe this isn't the first time that she's gone in and had to do this, right? You know what I'm saying? So I understand what people are saying, but I'm surprised at the response from some people that find it, that will say that it's silly to seek her out, because I'm like, but she's Reagan's mother. And she's become an expert. No one's saying that she's, Einstein. She's just over the 50 years, she's learned about it and looked into it. And when you do that, you don't got to go to school to become an expert, folks. You got to go to school to get a degree, but you don't got to go to school to become an expert.
That's true.
You don't got to go to school.
Piece of paper.
Yeah.
Right?
You don't.
I've met highly intelligent people who are way smarter than people who actually had that piece of paper.
It's true. It's true. You don't got to go to school. Clearly, I still do. But you don't have to go to school in order to be able to consume a massive amount of knowledge and information and meet people, and therefore become very well versed in a particular topic or subject. And that's what she did because of what happened to her daughter. Now, we don't know what happened to Reagan. I don't think it was ever said what happened to Reagan in this trailer. We don't know. It was never said. I'm sure we're going to find out. Is Reagan still alive? Did she go off? Because remember, this is not related to the heretic. This is completely separate. Right. This is if the heretic doesn't exist. So, what happened to Reagan? Did she go off and get married and have kids? Did she die? Did she ever have another relapse of something weird? This is stuff we don't know. Now, I don't know if David Gordon Green and company dive into this, but this is stuff that, I'd be thinking about.
Here's the question that I'm going to pose to you. Do you want it? I mean, obviously it is the elephant in the room, and because you are bringing Chris back, so obviously that would be we got to know. But how much do we want? Do we want the character back? Do we need to, like, is this going to be like Halloween where we we're going to bring back Reagan, we got the mom back, and I don't
Damien comes back as a Force ghost.
I get right. So I mean, like, what are we doing here? Do we need Reagan back? You know what I mean?
No, you don't. But here's the situation. Okay, so very early on in development, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is how it went. Very early on in development, Linda Blair was asked if she was going to be in the new Exorcist movie. And I don't know if it was at a con or something. And she said, I'm paraphrasing all this, but she said something to the effect of, I don't know, or no one's asked me, or, it was something like that. It wasn't like a hard no, like I have no interest, fuck off. It was just kind of like, not that I know of, blah, blah, blah. And then there was some sort of article like last year, I don't know if it was from Bloody Disgusting or something, where apparently there was some, I'm going to say maybe it was a rumor, but a rumor that had some smoke behind it. Something about how she wasn't, I know her name is attached to it right now. I think if you go to IMDb or something, or if you Google or whatever, her name pops up. That's not necessarily saying she is in it, unless it is out there that no, she's 100% in it. But I still think it's like people aren't quite sure. It's a bit wishy-washy. I'm not 100% sure. So here's the thing. Here's my thought on your thing. I think that you do bring her back, but when you bring back legacy characters, as I often say on this channel, it has to be properly motivated. When you look at Halloween Kills, there was no need for Brackett to be there. There was no need for Marion Chambers to be there. There wasn't even really any reason for Lindsay.
Michael, everybody's entitled to one good scare.
Yeah, which is weird in and of itself, because it was a flippant sort of off the cuff remark to Laurie. What is that, his catchphrase? Does he go around and say that all the time or something? I'm surprised he even remembered that. I'm being anal. Anyway, so but what I will say is that if you think about it, you didn't even need Tommy or like, I know it just didn't, the motivation wasn't strong enough for me. So the motivation for Ellen, Chris McNeil, to be in this movie makes sense, right? If you're going to go through something like this, now this is a bit of a movie trope, but it works. If it's properly motivated and it's well executed, we don't even bat an eye to it, right? We've seen lots of movies where, character A gets into some sort of, issue. They're a fish out of water. They need to seek somebody who has experience with it. We've seen that before. And it works. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It totally works. And this is a situation where you would do that. I mean, if you're in this situation that nobody's ever seen anything like this before at all, and there's a line in this movie that's very like, Seven, right? There's that line in the trailer to Seven. I think it caps off the trailer to Seven where Brad Pitt says, "Have you seen anything like this before?" Or "Have you ever seen anything like this before?" And Morgan Freeman doesn't say anything. He just shakes his head no. And it's like, "7 in theaters tomorrow," whatever it is, right? And you get that line here in this movie, right? "Have you ever seen anything like this?" The father says that, and the nurse or, the doctor's like, "No, but I know someone who has," you know what I mean? And then, we go over, of course, to Chris. It makes sense that you would seek out somebody, like, what are we dealing with here? Clearly, this is something that nobody knows what the fuck is going on. Nobody has seen anything like this, but this one nurse or doctor is like, but you know what? There's a lot of parallels. I think I might have. That makes sense. It's properly motivated to bring her in. She's an expert on it. They wrote her to be an expert on it, so it would make more sense to seek her out. And I think that's fine. With Reagan, does it make sense to bring Reagan into this installment right now? Not necessarily, but depending on how The Exorcist Believer ends, it may make sense, right? I'm fine with bringing Reagan back as long as it's properly motivated. It's not a Marion Chambers situation. It's not a Sheriff Brackett situation. You've got to bring her. I mean, Chris McNeil is great, don't get me wrong, but you've got to bring her back in a way that makes sense, that's not just fan service. It's properly motivated to the story, and we can get lost in that. Yeah.
Oh, I don't even like that I'm thinking it because I really hope it doesn't happen.
What? Exorcism dies tonight? Exorcism dies tonight!
No.
What? Does he make any sense?
She's brought back, right? Mm-hmm. Linda Blair is brought back, and it's set up to... It is Pazuzu, okay, after all. And they're setting it up because Pazuzu's trying to lure Reagan back to him, or whatever, the entity. And ends up possessing Reagan at the end. Like, they leave you kind of like on a cliffhanger where we as the audience know, you know what I mean, that something's wrong with her. And that's setting up for the next, the possession's going to take place with her again. Maybe because her mother gets killed, trying to fight, the possession and to help the kids, something like that. Like, I hate even to think that. I hope I am so dead fucking wrong. Like,
I think you will be wrong. Yeah,
I hope so. I really, really hope so, because I will hate that so much that this is all centered around. I mean, look. Yes, Linda Blair, that would be great for her. Nice little comeback here for her that they focus the movie on, because then it becomes like a Jamie Lee Curtis thing that they're, that she's the anchor in this one and Jamie Lee Curtis is the anchor in that one, in the Halloween movies. So
yeah, I would say that.
God, I hope not.
No, I don't think they're going to do that, because again,
that would suck.
Well, because as from the writing perspective, my question would be, well, what's Pazuzu's motivation? Right? If Pazuzu's coming,
he wanted to take over Reagan's body when she was a kid, and he didn't get it.
So he waited 50 years. Like, there'd have to be justification for that, and there'd have to be, like, I think it's a weak motivation, right?
So do I. That's why I hope what I'm thinking is just
for
talking
a demon.
Out loud
for
nonsense.
A demon, it's not necessarily.
That's what I really do. I hope it's just talking nonsense, and I really hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, it's. I mean, again, you can make it make sense, but I think it would need to be stronger for that. I don't think they're going to do that
unless they saved it for the third film.
Well, yeah,
as like a showdown type scenario.
Maybe
that.
Perhaps
Reagan becomes possessed in the third film. That's what they're leading it towards.
I think that Reagan will, if Linda Blair does come back and she's in this movie, I think she will be the hook at the end. I think there will be something that will happen she will be, the hook at the end. And maybe Chris McNeil gets killed. Maybe, there's something where, when all hope is lost, although that's usually a second act thing, but nonetheless, that's usually something you'd see at the end of the first movie.
I think you're right on the fact that if she shows up, she's showing up at the end, and it won't be very long, that she's the hook to get you into the next movie.
Yeah. I think that's more likely, but it still has to be properly motivated. Why is she back? I don't want a situation where she just suddenly shows up, walks, through the door and is like, I heard you needed me. It's like, nah, I mean, it's got to be something that or she may not be in this movie, and she may be in the second, or she may be in none of them. I don't know, but I think it would be very strange to me unless Linda Blair has a reason for not returning. She doesn't want to return. She's maybe it's a health thing, maybe it's just I'm not interested thing, maybe it's a money thing. I don't know, but I would be very surprised. You're making 3 Exorcist movies. I'd be very surprised if they have not reached out to her, while in the writing room and hopefully planning the course of these 3 films. I would be very surprised if her character didn't come up or return or need to come back or whatever. Again, it's got to make sense, of course, but weird. If we get through Believer, Deceiver, and Golden Retriever, whatever the third one's going to be called, if we get through these 3 movies and there's no Reagan, unless there's a situation where they say, well, she died, she's actually dead, she died, and that would tell me that maybe that's because Linda Blair had no interest in returning. But if Linda Blair is game, oh yeah, I'm game. They just never reached out to her. That would be that'd just be weird to me. It'd be weird. I mean, she is the Exorcist, in a lot of ways. And so that would be strange. I would like to see her return, but it's got to make sense. It's got to make sense. It can't feel shoehorned in. I don't want just some sort of weird cameo, hey, Pazuzu, everyone's entitled to one good scare. I don't want to see any of that. I want to see a return that has weight and meaning and impact on the narrative. What that is, I don't know. I will say this. Tell me what you think of this. This is how I would have done the trailer. I love the idea. So what do you think my favorite part of the trailer is? Or my favorite kind of thing about the trailer?
I know. I guess the heartbeat in sync?
I do like that. I think that's cool. I think the effects that Christopher Nelson has done is really cool. Like, shout out to Christopher Nelson, you and your team.
Well, it's hard to say because they didn't give too, people are complaining that they gave too much away. They really didn't give away a lot.
No, I mean? It's more to do with the girls and how they look and how they're acting and things like that. Again, it's a sliding scale, right? Like there's,
because I feel
it's
like
relative.
Well, certainly there's like what the 2018 Halloween film did in the trailer. There's a return to home with that, right? There's a return to home with the 2018 film. Yeah. There's a lot of familiarity. This Exorcist movie did that as well too. Tubular bells, familiar characters, but even the familiar look of the possessions and the face and everything. You're seeing familiarity. You know what I mean? So it feels like The Exorcist.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't quite feel The Exorcist the ways I wanted to, but there were certainly, yes, in to your point.
And we didn't even see like the actual exorcism. You know what I mean? Like, we don't even know how that's going to go down. We don't know.
No idea.
Nothing.
But one of my favorite parts of the trailer is this notion that 2 teenage girls walk off into the woods, are not seen
for 3 days,
and return seemingly unscathed but dirty with cuts on them. I get the impression from the trailer that they obviously are sent home, and then weird things begin to happen to them while they're at their respective homes, and then of course they're brought together again, at the hospital when shit hits the fan. But as somebody who loves mystery and the unknown, and I relish in the mystery and the unknown, and just I love that stuff. And so like that is a log line almost, even as just like like a log line, like 2 girls, leave school and walk off into the woods on their way home, never to be seen or not. And then, not seen again for 3 days. And they show up, they have no memory of what happened. And they got these weird kind of like just that alone. If I was, that's a little bit of a long log line, but if there was a short synopsis about that, I would read that and I'd go, ooh, eerie, creepy. What happened in those woods? What's in those woods? What's going on in there? See how dense those woods are? What's in there? What mystery lies beyond the woods and the trees, and what is in there? And like, I love that. That's eerie. That's creepy. The unknown aspect of that. And I would have leaned more heavily into that as part of the trailer. And just kind of like, just this very eeriness, and there's this slow pace as you're building the trailer out, and I know you do see them. There's snippets of that in this trailer. Catherine, Angela. I get that, but lean I would lean more into it. Like, like I just love that. Again, like you go back to Stranger Things and like, when Winona Ryder, Joyce is talking to Hopper in that very first episode. And she's like, Hop, he disappeared and all that. And we as an audience, we don't know what happened to him. He just was in his little fucking shed and then he was gone. I love that. Like, it's just like, ooh, what's going, it's like, it's the mystique that surrounds that, the mystery that surrounds the unknown and the mystique and the adventure of trying to solve the puzzle and figure that out. I just love that shit. And so, when I think about that set, and maybe they have a lot of that in this, in this film. Again, it's only a trailer, but I would have loved to have seen a trailer that's like, 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes, and we're watching it and we see the girls kind of begins the same and they disappear. And maybe we don't actually see them recovered until like the end of the trailer. Do you know what I mean? So like the most of the trailer is just these adults, right? Trying to figure out what's going on, and they're talking and you see things happening. It's like, what is this? And maybe you hear like, the tubular bells thing, and you see them, go into the woods and it's like, there's something in there, man. I don't know what it is, and then maybe there's like clues to back, the old, I mean, maybe this is, they couldn't do that because I'm explaining a story that does not exist, a story they didn't write. But I guess I was just looking for more of that nuance and that kind of, don't show me too much, really get me, ooh, you know what I mean? And then maybe at the end of the trailer, imagine this, at the end of the trailer, the girls are found. There's like 30 seconds left in the trailer. The girls are found. It's like, baby, you've been gone for 3 days. It's like, ooh, 3 days. What the fuck? It's like, what the fuck's going on? And then like they're in there, they're being monitored. You see the cuts on them and things like that. And they're, they're in the hospital bed. It's this overhead shot, it's kind of dark out there and we're slowly pushing in on Catherine's face or Angela's face. We're pushing in and all of a sudden we begin to see her face change a little bit, and you begin to hear like tubular bells begin to play in the background or something. And it just goes, and it cuts to black and just the Exorcist, the believer, something like that. I would have been like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
like,
I just think you rewrote the whole movie there.
and it's entirely possible that I did, but you can see that I've taken what's already there. I've just delayed the gratification. That's all I've done. I've just delayed sort of the gratification because it can still continue on. Like, the movie can still continue on with all the stuff you see in the trailer after where I would have ended the trailer, right? You could totally still continue on because that would be what happens next, right? That would be what happens next. We just don't see that until maybe a second trailer that's released in like, September or something like that. That's when they get into it, a little bit more maybe or something like that. But for a first trailer, I just think that more eeriness, that mysteriousness, that build, like what's going on, what's happening, where are these girls? They're found and we're like, oh, this is weird. They got cuts on them and shit. You hear the tubular bell thing and it's like, ooh, what is that? And then you just see the face begin to change a little bit. Like she kind of smiles a little bit and changes and it's very clear. Oh shit, this is the Exorcist. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? And and before you have time to go, that's it. And the title's on the screen. You're like, oh shit, that's what this is. Oh, fuck. You know what I mean? And again, that's just, it's just different. It's just, I would have delayed the gratification of seeing them all in their glory just a little bit. And it's very similar. Maybe I was thinking of this subconsciously. It's very similar to the actual Exorcist trailer. When you watch the Exorcist trailer from 1973, one of the last things you see is Reagan's face, but it's almost like it's like a 30 or 40% opacity. And you just kind of see her lying in bed and you see the face and then it's just like, The Exorcist. It's like, oh, what was that? Because everything up to that point, you didn't see the face at all. It was just, it was just Chris McNeil running into the room and a freeze frame on her face, her talking to the doctors, all that kind of stuff. And I guess I was looking for more of something like that. It's not the trailers. It's not wrong the way they did it. It's just different, different tastes, different styles, you know, how I would have done. I would have dangled that a bit more and get people to go, oh, fuck, I want to see more. Like I want to see how that changes and what they look like and all that kind of stuff, you know?
I agree. I'm going to quote Stu from Scream. I'm feeling a little woozy here. Can we go to Q&A?
Yes.
It's just because this room doesn't have AC and I'm sweating profusely and I'm starting to get woozy.
You got it, dude. You got it. Let's go to the Oh, there goes my, hey, that's weird. I
got to get my unit. We're remodeling this house and there's just so much stuff we're doing, and our central unit went out and I'm using window units, but I can only use so many before it like causes a surge short. And yeah, I'm dying right now.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do it. Let's get over to the Q&A portion, and let's start sending those questions, folks, for Tony and I about The Exorcist Believer. Ryan Underworld sends in $5, says, demons die tonight. Maybe that'll be it. Thank you, Ryan. Josh McKenna sends in $9.99 and says, I saw Barbie and I loved it. I ignored the reviews and judged it for myself and judged it for myself and enjoyed it. My only complaint is that it's too girly. Well,
there's a Barbie movie out?
Yeah.
Really?
With Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. I wanted more blood. I wanted Art the Clown to randomly appear.
No, for real?
For real. Yeah, look it up, dude. Apparently it's got great reviews.
Dude, I'm so like...
Some people think it's too, some people think it's too woke and feminism. And
my God, I saw that with regarding the Exorcist trailer, man. Someone made a comment.
It was too woke?
How it's too woke. I'm like, well, how is it too woke? Because they cast a little black girl to be possessed in them. Like, is this how far we're reaching with this shit?
Is that why they're saying it's woke?
Yeah. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of is because it's a diverse cast. It's like, what, bro? Like, we're reaching some. This is why I don't know what's going on, because I try so hard to stay off of social media and just like I don't know what's going on. It may be naive to do, but there's just so much stupid shit. And like, yeah, The Exorcist, the same thing. Fucking, it's too woke. What? There was nothing woke about it. Look, I'm like anybody else. I don't want woke shit shoved in my fucking face, but I'm also not going to look for it either when it's not there.
Well, that's exactly it. People toss around the word. It doesn't mean anything anymore. There's nothing woke about that trailer. And listen, all you middle-aged men out there that are complaining that Barbie is too woke or it's about the patriarchy and, feminism, it's a fucking Barbie movie. What do you expect? Of course it's going to be about...
You're getting pissed off about a Barbie movie, you got to reevaluate your life.
Of course it's going to be about girl power. Of course, it's Barbie. I mean, Jesus God, what do you want Terminator Barbie?
Is that why everybody was doing the Barbieheimer thing?
Oh, Barbenheimer. Yeah.
I kept seeing
right.
Barbenheimer, and I'm like, why are people doing Barbenheimer? Like, I didn't get it.
Yeah, because both movies were released the same weekend.
And like, I'm an idiot.
No, you're not an idiot, dude. Dude, you're busy, man. You're a busy dude. It's totally understandable. Happy Sanjo sends in a very generous super chat of $20. Thank you, Happy. And says, Exorcist True Believer is the start of a sequel trilogy. That is true. Doesn't need to have the same style as the original. They need to set their own vibe that has respect to the original. I disagree. The style needs to be the same. Well, I guess when I say style, Happy, I'm talking about it needs to feel like this is a sequel to the original film. And, in my opinion, you're free to disagree, of course, but in my opinion, with older horror movies like the original Halloween, like The Exorcist, there is a very specific vibe and style to those movies. And, it's strange to me that like both of those movies are, slow burn, suspense kind of movies. And I understand the era we're in now. It's not lost on me. But I don't like doing modern sequels to old horror movies that feel that there's no color to them. There's no character to them. A lot of the, Halloween, The Exorcist, there was character to the film. There was nuance. There was a feeling to the picture. It had gravitas. It had pathos. It had, just pick anything. There had pathos. It doesn't make any sense. But it had, there was a lot of there was a lot of just a vibe and a feeling to the picture. To make just a modern horror movie that feels like every other horror movie in existence, that's fine in my opinion. If you're doing something new, if you're creating a new film, a new IP, like The Pope's Exorcist or, Insidious or The Conjuring or, whatever the case is, that's fine. But when you're doing a direct sequel to a classic film, to me, it's got to feel like it lives and breathes in the same universe. I don't mean you have to do a beat for beat remake. That's what I'm talking about. But there's got to be certain a feeling to the picture of, you have to actually have what made those movies work. Why do we love those movies? How does it affect us? Why does it affect us, right? It's like how Tony and I here talk about the Blair Witch Project and how you had Blair Witch 2016 and Blair Witch from 1999, and the reasons why Blair Witch 2016 didn't quite work as well for us.
Had the potential though, it really did.
It did have the potential.
Oh my God,
it absolutely did.
It was so close, and then it just.
Yeah, because
disappointed.
Right. And then, somebody might say, well, that's why they just shouldn't make, sequels to old movies. Well, you know what? There's a valid point to be made there. There's an absolutely valid point and valid argument to be made where that, we just shouldn't be going to see, they just shouldn't be making these types of movies. Just leave the legacy. But why do they do it? Because you go and see them, and I go see them too, and I consume them too because I want to see them. That's why they make them. If we don't go see them, they don't make them. But so I understand what you're saying. So I agree in the sense that they can't, you don't make a beat for beat remake. You don't worry, you have to make it your own. You got to bring your own directing sensibilities to it. You got to, you have to bring it into the 21st century. But I think, and I know that obviously I'm a bit biased, but I think what we did with It's Me, Billy in relation to Black Christmas is a good example of that. It's a modern film set in obviously the 21st century with modern filmmaking, equipment and production value and everything. But you watch the original, you watch It's Me, Billy, and it's very Black Christmas. And so,
did you see
I don't want the
sequel, by the way?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't. I do want to see it though. But the last thing I want to see is a film like The Pope's Exorcist is like, like a movie like that is trying to tell me, is the sequel to The Exorcist. Imagine if The Pope's Exorcist was the sequel to The Exorcist, right? It's that doesn't make any, it's a different, it's almost like The Pope's Exorcist is like an action adventure horror. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel, not quite, but I think you get what I'm trying to say, right? So I understand what you're saying, Happy, but I do think it's important that we do have that continuity that does carry over, in my opinion anyway. And then we have Taylor Paulson that sends in $1. Thank you, Taylor, for the support. Antonis Andriota sends in $5. Says, The Exorcist Believer has been my most anticipated horror movie since the beginning of 2023, and the trailer has made me way more hyped now. Can't wait. Awesome. So glad you're hyped for it, man. Comes out, what is it, October 13th or something?
Yeah,
I think something like that. Yeah. Nate A sends in $2, says, Dave, have you seen Oppenheimer or even Barbie? I have seen neither yet. You saw Oppenheimer, right, Tony? And you loved it, didn't you?
Fucking loved it. I mean, amazing. Chris Nolan, man. I mean, though Chris Nolan, I can understand, can be hit or miss depending on the movie you're watching, but yeah. You could tell that everybody did their, everybody just put their heart and soul into this. And you know what, too, you can also tell is that when you got people like Robert Downey Jr., Matt Damon, Emily Blunt, you can really tell that these actors were supporting Cillian Murphy. You know what I mean? Like they weren't trying to outdo him. They weren't trying, like, he really carries this movie. Like, I don't want to spoil it for you, but just telling you, he carries the movie and you can see the cast just, support him in this. You know what I mean? That's what it's long, but to me, it went by fucking fast. So yeah, I loved it. So
cool. Yeah, no, I've heard great things, and it's and that obviously is a very character-driven film, right? It's about the relationships, the drama, the discussions. It's about the philosophical questions of, oh my God, what have we done? Do you know what I mean? Done? Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
Because it changed the world. I mean, literally changed us forever.
100%. And isn't it isn't it wild that we now, like, as catastrophic as those bombs were, the nuclear weapons we have now are like 100 times more powerful. Could you imagine if one of those like went off today? Could you imagine if somebody dropped one of those bombs today? They're 100 times more powerful than the bombs dropped in 1945. That's insane. Like that's like, we are literally on like very close to totally killing ourselves. And then, but I do want to see Oppenheimer, and I do want to see Barbie as well. I'm looking forward to seeing it, actually.
I'm a Barbie girl
In a Barbie world. Life in plastic. It's fantastic. That was a good song, actually.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
That was good. That was good. Aqua. It was Aqua, done by Aqua.
That was like in the 90s, right? 96, 97?
98, yeah, something like that. 97, 98. Steve McCoy sends in $2, says, Believer, Deceiver, and Just Leave Her. Ooh, Just Leave Her.
That's there's a title.
No, it's not. But he was saying, you know, it could be. Yeah, we do know that The Exorcist.
The first one is Believer. The second one is
Deceiver. Yeah. And the third one we don't know yet.
Oh, he was just rhyming it.
He was just rhyming it. Yeah. I think they should do like 10 movies. You got The Exorcist, Believer, Deceiver, June Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver, Harry Beaver, Meat Cleaver, Mouth Breather, Dream Weaver.
And then on the 10th one, you end The Exorcist, you end the movie, right? This is how you end the 10th one.
It doesn't rhyme.
The person that's possessed is cured, right? And it's back to normal. But the end credit scene, it's a cool autumn night.
I'm liking it. Yes, Tony, yes.
And then it comes in from fading from black, and then you see this junkyard.
Okay. Oh no.
And the ground starts to shake a little bit.
Oh my God.
And you see a hand pop out.
It's Freddy's hand.
Of the ground. No. And the person climbs up.
Yes.
You see him dust off the dirt. You hear tubular bells going a little bit, kind of faintly in the background.
It's Damien.
Michael puts the mask on. Pazuzu has possessed Michael Myers and brought him back to life.
No, Pazuzu
is
Michael Myers.
Pazuzu is Michael Myers. It's the crossover that no one has ever saw.
Oh my God. All Halloween fans everywhere would be like, that's like, oh my God. It'd be orgasmic. It'd be orgasmic. Josh McKenna sends in $1.99 and says, did you hear about Kevin Spacey? Yeah, Kevin Spacey apparently was acquitted on all charges. It'll be he was acquitted on all charges. So
goes to show you what a little money can do.
Yeah. So I'll be very curious to see how.
You know what? Here's the thing.
If and when he actually makes a comeback.
Here's the thing about that. He may have legally been acquitted in the judicial aspect, but in people's eyes, no. People, you know, it's like OJ. I mean, it really is. It's literally like OJ. I mean, you think companies and businesses are going to be doing anything with OJ Simpson?
Wait.
Are you kidding?
What did OJ Simpson do? No, I'm just Could you imagine if I honestly had no idea?
The glove didn't fit, so you must have quit.
Could you imagine if I literally didn't know? I was like, what happened with OJ?
Right.
Like,
so, I mean, I would compare Kevin Spacey
just
to that.
rolled over that.
yeah, I would compare it to both those two. I mean, really, they are. I mean, like what Kevin Spacey did, I mean, next to murder, that's probably the most unforgivable thing you could do. And it just goes to show you how much they are doing everything they can to silence things like that, you know, and it's unfortunate for the victims. It really fucking is really unfortunate for people who have been victimized like that, children who have been victimized like underage people, you know, whatever. It is really fucking unfortunate that there's creeps out there that get away with this shit and continue to do it. And, you know, that's why they call it fucking Hollyweird, man, for a reason, because there's weird shit that fucking goes on there. It's the reality of it. So I think regardless, he's not going to be, if someone, I mean, but then again, it is Hollyweird. Fucking, so it's possible we may end up seeing, but then again, that's like saying, would we see Victor Salva direct something in the future? Probably not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, listen,
I don't know. Honestly, in today's world, nothing surprises me anymore. So we say this, next thing you know, he's starring in a movie, right?
True.
I mean,
it's true. You're bang on.
And I won't be shocked. I'll be like, yeah, in this day and age, I'm not fucking surprised.
Yeah, you're bang on. You're bang on. It could happen. Did you hear about Sinead O'Connor, who passed away today? 56.
Yeah, I just found out before we went live.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I know she was battling. She had a lot of demons that she was battling in life, and I hope she's at peace now. And I hope it isn't what I'm thinking it is. Yeah. You know, but I got a feeling that I don't even want to say it publicly. I don't want to go there. I don't want to speculate on something like that. But I'll just say I think it's in the Kurt Cobain category. To be honest with you, I do. It could be.
The family hasn't said why.
Because of the, she has had a lot of struggles in life, a lot. And it's been very well known. Everyone's known it. No one, and she's been very open about it. The mental health problems that she has dealt with. And, it's a very real thing. And it sucks that people go through that. I sympathize, I don't know what that's like, I deal with my own shit, but, not like to that level. So like I said a moment ago, I hope she's at peace, and it's found the peace,
Right. Yep. So. Well, look at Bill Cosby. That's a whole fucking fuck, man. That was, and he totally did that. 100%. But yeah, no, there's a lot of weird fucking shit going on and all that kind of stuff. But the world sucks. It does. It is. It's a shitty world. It can be a great world.
Yes and no. I think it depends on your circle in life. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And I'm not trying to quote The Lion King, but really, who you keep in your circle. That's exactly why I'm not on social media anymore. I don't look at this stuff because it can be very depressing, if you're on there every day and you're seeing this stuff, I don't follow politics stuff anymore because I don't care. You know what I mean? I just have no energy for it. I have no energy for the stupidity that's going on.
The more you follow politics, the more you realize that there's
not even just politics.
There's
just
insanity on both sides.
Not even just politics, man. Even just like The Exorcist, when, like I said, when even in the chat, it's so toxic now that I don't want to deal with it. You and I are at the halfway point in our lives. Hopefully, I'm still trying to aim for 100+, but we'll see.
Hey man, I'm going for 500.
There you go. Go. Why don't you go full Abraham? Go for 1,000.
Yes.
Yes. Old Testament there.
Just as long as you're there with me, buddy.
I think it was him. Was it him that went I can't remember. One of them went to something. I don't know.
Tony and I will be the last people on earth.
There you go. We'll be like Cain and Abel.
That's right.
Didn't end too well for either one of them, did it?
Oh God, I'm choking now.
But no, the world is what you make it. Obviously, that's basically what I meant. Well, I love the world. The world is what you make it, and it's who you have in your life. And it's a bad place. There's bad people that do bad things, but for the most part, I think we're all just trying to fucking get through this life and do our shit, and have nights like this where we can shoot shit for 2 hours and talk about a horror movie, and
that's what it's all about. I love the quote that says, before you seek out help for, I'm paraphrasing the quote, but I've always liked it. It's something like, before you self-diagnose yourself with depression, first make sure that you are not just surrounded by a bunch of assholes. And I always really like, because it's true. We tend to surround ourselves with a lot of garbage and a lot of toxic people we just don't need. And less, and I cannot preach this enough, and I'm not trying to be all religion. It's because it's not at all. The less you spend on social media, the more you realize how happy you are. Yes. 100%. I'm telling you. 100%. I can look, there are some people in this world that when they're not when they're not on social media for a couple of days, for whatever reason that is, whether it's because they're away or their phone, I don't know what it is. They're addicted. Some of the best days are days where I'm with my girlfriend and we're out and I'm not even on the phone. I don't care. I'm not on the phone. I'm not looking at it. Maybe I'll leave the phone in the car and we'll go into the mall, or we'll we're at the beach and whatever it is. It's totally true. It could be because we come from a different generation, and we remember a time when there was no social media and there really was no internet and cell phones and all that kind of stuff. And we remember that. If you're somebody growing up today who doesn't have that perspective, if you're like 25 years old or, whatever it is, then it might be devastating to you to not have your phone for like 2 days because you don't know what else to do. You and I mean, we can entertain ourselves, but you honestly don't know what to do. But I agree with you. It can be a very toxic environment and just so much nonsense. It's just like everybody's just angry at each other and screaming and yelling. And the internet can be an amazing place, and social media can be an amazing, awesome place where you can have great discussions and great back and forth. The problem is there's nobody at the gate, right? There's no security guard, and everybody, who's got a computer and, a pair of hands can sign up and join, whatever. And then you get lots of intelligent people, but you also get lots of doorknobs in there too, and, who ruin it for everybody, or whatever the case is. And we've got a couple of doorknobs that have made their way into our chats and things like that. And it's just I don't know. I agree with you. There can be good, but man, do you feel a lot better when you're not on it? At least maybe of a certain age. Like I said, if you're 25, maybe you're pulling your hair out or something. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
are we good on the questions? Because I really want to
I think we are. Yep, I think we are. All right, folks, listen. Cool. That's going to do it for Tony and I here on episode 191 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Thank you, of course, to the super chat the super chats that came in today. Appreciate it. Thank you to our great moderators, Frank Riker, Top of the Shore, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, Cody Snyder, and Andrew Stevens. Thank you for doing what you guys do. We really appreciate it. Tony and I will be back again soon. Don't know when yet, but we will be back again soon with another great topic. I don't know what that topic will be yet, but we have a few ideas, which should be a lot of fun. If you want to follow me on social media, all my links are in the description, of course. Check them out if you can. And the Indiegogo campaign to It's Me Billy Chapter 2 is in demand, and it's in the description as well. And so make sure you get in on it. You want to be part of horror and Black Christmas history and get your name in the end credits? Check out the Chapter 2 link in the description below. Tony, any last things you want to say?
No, this was fun, and we'll see you guys soon.
Very fun. I agree. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Wednesday night, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.